Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday morning conversation. Today, my guest is a longtime friend from here in Atlanta, Wil Cramer. He works with ASICs Canada and he's out of Toronto now. So thanks for joining today. I hope you enjoy.
Hey, man, it's been a long time since I've seen you.
I know, man. What's going on? How are you?
Another day in the life.
I hear you.
Yeah, I've been working in Photoshop today, working on it's called, the effect I'm trying to cause is double exposure, right? So
Okay.
I took this photo of a beach scene from a race, and with the rocks and everything. It's Maine, and then I overlaid a picture that my friend the photographer took of me in a wetsuit with my goggles on. So then all you see is the outline of me with like the like the lines and the contours on top of that. So it should be interesting.
Nice. Have
Yeah.
you been like doing some Photoshop dabbling or is that something that you've done for a while? Or is that
Well, yeah, for about 12 years. And when you're an
Oh, shit,
architect,
okay.
you have to make a lot of diagrams, work with renderings, so it's kind of like a second skill.
Yep.
And now I just use it for personal use since I can't work as an architect anymore.
Oh, no. We haven't caught up in a long time, so I feel like we've got catching up to do, but I mean,
So when did you leave?
2016 we
Okay.
left.
So yeah, a lot's happened since then.
Yeah.
So I got hit by a car riding my bike to Decatur for work on October 5th, 2017.
Okay.
And I got a traumatic brain injury out of the deal, which is putting me on disability. I've tried to go back to work, but I just can't function at full capacity. So
Yeah. So this has become sort of your new passion project. I mean, obviously training's been a big thing for you for a long time, but
yeah, it kind of I was trying to searching for a sense of purpose. So doing this and the video log kind of it gave me
man.
that. Plus the video log helps people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew, but me and Danielle split. So
I had not heard that either. So yeah, lots of catching up to do.
yeah, I'll tell you
But
that
yeah.
after this is all over.
Fair enough. Yeah, we'll keep it above board at least for this portion. But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So man, I knew what you did at West Stride. What's the new
Yeah.
life about? I mean, I knew you were in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Road Runners, right? And then you to Toronto.
Yep. So kind of like moved our way up the East Coast. So worked at West Stride where Eric and I met from 2008 to 2016, which is a independent run specialty shop in Atlanta. And then my wife and I moved to New York in 2016. I was a professor, and so she got a job teaching at Pace University there. And when we got to New York, just got super lucky and got in with the team at Brooklyn Running Company in Brooklyn. And they were looking for like a store manager and a buyer, like footwear buyer, right as we were landing, right as we got there. So pretty much just like touched down in New York and started working at Brooklyn Running Company right away in 2016. And then when my wife Lauren got another opportunity at the University of Toronto in 2019, we relocated up to Toronto, and I took a few months off, kind of just like getting the lay of the land and trying to meet people and applying for jobs, and found an opportunity with ASICs Canada. So I'm I'm a merchandiser for ASICs Canada. So basically I'm on the team, just a team of two. So we kind of look at the whole global product assortment that ASICs offers and kind of curate an assortment that we think is going to be the most successful for the Canadian marketplace. And so this role actually gives me an opportunity to work at performance running footwear. I get to cover some like tennis and core performance sports products, and then also get to work in like sports style, kind of more like lifestyle sneakers and fashion as well. So kind of just gets me an opportunity to expand my scope a little bit and see things from the brand side, where I've been in more the retail side before.
So do you have any connection to, your local specialty stores, or is that kind of a little bit too, I'm going to say, not your area because you're more of a global scale?
No, totally. I mean, our focus really is still on our like local specialty retailers. Like we see those shops as being very, very critical in sort of legitimizing the brand and authenticating the brand. So actually, when we get off the phone here, I'm going to a run with one of the stores in Toronto that I've run with quite a bit. Last week, I was doing a run with one of the buyers for another store here in Toronto. So we try to keep, it's been a big focus of mine to really stay connected to like the local running community in Toronto. And then as a brand, we focus a lot on our run specialty retailers across Canada to, again, just, I think those relationships are super, super important. So we definitely try to keep those relationships alive for sure.
So sidestepping a bit, you
Yep.
know, running all over Toronto. I see you were running all over Canada. What was that about?
Yeah, so ASICS is sponsoring this guy, Skylar Roth McDonald, who is attempting he's running across Canada. So he started in Western Canada in British Columbia, like on the coast, in June, and made his way east. So last week, we met up with him about 5 hours north of Toronto and ran about 20 miles of his run with him. He probably put in a little over 30 for the day. So he's averaging, 30 to 35 miles a day, living in an RV, having sort of like a rotating cast of like support crew drive him around. And so we just went up there to support him for the day and get some miles in. It was a good opportunity for me to see some rural Ontario. And but then we got to spend the night in Ottawa, where I had not been before. So the capital city of Canada, we spent the night in Ottawa, which was fun too. But all Skylar's trying to raise money for the Canadian Institute of Mental Health. So it's sort of a fundraising effort for mental health awareness, and then obviously a kind of a endurance goal of his that we got to take part in.
I don't know if you knew this, but Mental Health Awareness Month is March, so I'm sure you picked up a better month.
Well, he's trying to make it mental health awareness all the time. Like why just put it in 1 month when we can highlight it for. I mean, he'll be running for like 5 months. Trying to just make it sort of a regular thing we talk about outside of just 1 month. Just be aware of mental health all the time.
So what are the winters like up in Toronto, considering you don't get lake effect snow?
No, so I think we're on like we're on the side of the lake that doesn't get lake effect. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the winds come from the north and the east, so you're on the northwest of Ontario.
Right. So Chicago gets all the wind coming from Toronto, right?
No, Chicago they don't get lake effect snow because it's either coming from the east or from the heading southwest.
Okay.
So that's why in Lake Erie, where I'm from in Youngstown in Northeast Ohio, that gets usually hammered with lake effect snow. And if the winds are heading due east, then Buffalo gets, buried.
Got it. Still learning all my geographies. I still have to like remind myself like where Toronto is like relative to other places I've lived. But so honestly, like we're heading into like our third fall and winter now. The first two really weren't as bad as I think they could have been. I think like living in New York between Atlanta and Toronto probably helped. We had like a couple New York winters to like give us a little bit of a intro to what a northern winter is like, but they've been actually not bad. So we'll see if this one is any worse.
Yeah, see, your winters, even in Toronto and New York, are different than the kind that I had growing up for like the first 25 years. You just get a lot of snow. It's a lot of snow. It's cold. And then college, it was windy, snow, and cold. I'll tell you what, I went through 2 presidents in college. The first one was real old bride, but she hated canceling class, right? She wouldn't close the university for anything, and she canceled class maybe 2 or 3 times in the 3 or 4 years she was my president. She retired, and then this guy, Lester Lefton, comes in. He's from Tulane, and he doesn't know what lake effect snow is when it drops 2 feet of snow on you in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps closing the university, and the board of trustees are like, "You can't keep doing this." He's like, "I don't know what to do." And that's how
like, I don't have a coat for this. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. He's like, we have to pay everybody triple time, and he's like, oh. So that's what my experience is, because but I'm glad to be down here. Are you ever going to come back? Like,
we'll see. I mean, yeah, we'll see. So we're so it's all sort of driven by sort of what happens with my wife's work. So she's a university professor. She's tenure track, which just means that
Yeah.
as over a certain amount of time, as long as she kind of hits these certain benchmarks of like publication, scholarship, and like teaching and service to the university, she gets tenure and essentially is like employed for life by the university. So
Yeah,
we're,
you can pretty much
she's-
murder someone and not lose your tenure.
you know, well, hopefully it won't come to that, but I think that's like in the contract. Yeah. But it's, so she's probably have 4 or 5 more years kind of in that tenure track for her. And then we kind of see where we go from there. But we're, you know, we are in the middle of applying for like our permanent residence status in Canada. So hopefully within the next year, we'll have like permanent residency in Canada and keep our US citizenship. So have a little bit of flexibility to kind of make a decision down the road. But we've talked about like cities that we would be interested in moving back to, and like Atlanta's definitely on the list. And then it's really just like cities we lived in before. So like we would go back to New York in a heartbeat. We'd go back to DC. My wife, she's got a lot of family there, and Atlanta obviously is where all my people are. So it's on the list if we can make it work for, you know, professionally.
So I guess what are your, I don't know what the corporate structure is of ASICs, but like what's your ceiling? You know, where do you plan on taking this if you want to stick with them?
It's a great question. And it's something I'm kind of thinking about a lot, right? And don't really have a great answer for. But I think one of the areas that I see opportunity with ASICs is to sort of bridge the sort of community relationships and product a little bit more. So we have like a product team, which is what I work on. We have a marketing team, which is sort of separate, and we collaborate together, but there's not sort of a clear like connection point between those two departments. So my manager and I have been talking recently just about the opportunity and the need for someone to kind of like bridge those two departments together and really sort of look at ASICs less from like a product and a marketing eye, and look at it more from like a brand lens that kind of brings those two departments together. So for me, the next step up would sort of be like a category director. So I would be potentially like would take over like performance running specifically and kind of own that category. That would sort of be the next step. And then from there, it would be sort of looking at how we can bridge, kind of bring that like more unified like brand position together, and sort of look at it from like sort of bridge marketing and brand together and product together a little bit more. Or for me, it would be looking at how we can use product to, sort of invest more in the community. We're working with a organization here in Toronto called The Kickback, which is it's a nonprofit organization that kind of uses sneaker culture and athletics to provide like mentorship opportunities for kids here. And so ASICS has been partnering with them. We did a run club with them throughout the summer. We sponsored a tennis camp that they did. So something that interests me is kind of looking at opportunities to continue to like build those community investments and community relationships with that sort of corporate backing and product to tell stories around it.
Nice. So
Yeah.
the last question I got for you is, you've done one marathon. You got an entry to the New York City Marathon. What
did.
happened?
Oof, I got too excited about my return trip to New York. I got a little, I went out too fast. I started cramping up like crazy. And it's actually, I mean, I had like a true like hit the wall moment, and then like a rebirth moment in the last like 4 miles of the race. Like mile 22, I was like, hamstrings were cramping up like crazy. Like literally couldn't move, like couldn't run, couldn't walk anymore. So I stepped off the course, told a race official that I was like gonna drop out. They like submitted my number for like the DNF list, and then this woman just like kind of came out of the crowd, and she was like, "Oh, you look like you could use some help." And I was like, "I guess, and she's like, "You're gonna finish the race." And so this woman, Antonia from Ohio, that's all I know of her, about her name and where she's from, but she was like signed up for the race, for the marathon, got food poisoning the day before, and so was out just cheering on the course, and kind of like took me under her wing and like jogged with me for 1.5 miles, gave me a long sleeve shirt when I started shivering, and then kind of like ushered me on my way. So I truly, like, I wouldn't have finished the race if this if Antonia from Ohio hadn't come through and like saved the day for me. So, but before that, I went out at like sub 240 pace and through the first half, and then just blew up. Typical marathon story.
I've got a similar story about my second marathon. I did this like 4 months after getting hit by a Tahoe. And for the first mile, I was good. And then my legs started to hurt. And then my hips started to hurt. Like, somebody smashed me with a bat. So like my first half marathon wasn't bad, but the second loop was just painful when I had to walk a lot. And like Tara was there, JB was there. They were on like one side of the course. Danielle, Jen, and Ross were running, so they were at the half. So they were at the finish when I got there. But I was walking a lot. And about mile 20, this person comes speeding up in a car and hits the brakes and start running out. And it's Yvonne.
No way.
Nobody knew she was coming. She's just there. And I'm like, everybody's already finished them. And I'm still here.
That's wild. Yeah. Which race was this? What marathon?
Birmingham Mercedes-Benz Mercedes Marathon.
And that's two loops? Is a 2-loop course? Is that how they lay it out? Yeah. I love it. Yvonne is she's like, she is like a perfect like guardian angel type of person to just jump out and like re-energize you when you're bonking. Like what a perfect person to come save the day.
I mean, it looked like she was going to come on the course and hit someone. Like she was flying down the hill that far. I don't know how she knew. Like it was perfect timing. She got there as I got there. And I don't know who she talked to because there wasn't really a tracking app.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
It was just one of those fate moments, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you can't plan it. You can't draw it up, but it I also can't like overstate like how vital it was to completing the race that day. It's
and that was
wild.
The last I saw of her because she wasn't at the finish line. It's like, all right, it was just a random, a wild Yvonne appeared.
Dude, it's the same thing. As soon as like Antonia left me, she just like evaporated into the distance. Like I'm not sure if she was real or an apparition, but like I had an additional shirt at the end of it. So that's the only like proof I have that this woman like really existed, is like the t-shirt that she gave me. But I guess at that point in marathon, you probably are in a little bit of like a hallucinatory state anyway. You start kind of, getting a little bit wonky around 24 miles of a marathon, I would guess.
My first one, it was at 22.
Yeah.
How
many marathons have you done?
2 standalones, but 3 with Ironmans.
Okay, I was gonna say counting Ironmans is probably about a lot more. Any tips for me going into a second one, given that I, cramped up like crazy on my first? Any tips from a pro?
Talk to Rory.
Yeah,
he's run like 15 of them. That's who I'd talked to before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and he's steady Eddie too. He's so he knows what to do to be Mr. Consistency for sure.
Yeah, I'm not a runner to begin with, so I'm not a good person to ask anything about running.
Okay, that's fair. Well, but you run more marathons than I have, so always looking for additional knowledge that I don't have.
But thanks for letting me ask you some questions, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Yeah, no, I'm glad we could connect. What's next for you? You said you just raced in Nashville, yeah? How was that?
Man, it wasn't 3 sports, it was 4 sports.
Okay.
So the swim was it was in the Cumberland River. So, and it was a rectangle pattern. So you go down with the current, then you cut across, because it was somewhat diagonal, not straight across. And then coming back down, it was like hitting a wall, because yesterday or the day before was like 2 hours worth of pouring like whiteout rain from the humidity, thunderstorms and stuff. So the current was really fast. So all of a sudden my pace, it was probably doubled. I was swimming against the wall. And then when I reached the top, I had to get across the river again to the boat dock, but I had this big bow in it from when the current pushed me downriver. And then on the bike, you had to mount and dismount again for like 30 feet because there was construction on the one road. So they rerouted you to a parking lot, but there was a packed gravel hill, kind of like,
at the river, right? That kind of gravel. And you had to get off your bike, run over that, and get back on. You had to do it again when you came back in.
Gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
Yeah. So a little bit of cyclocross.
Well, it's like, okay, you can add that to your multi-sport resume now.
Yeah. You know, it really wouldn't have been that bad, but cyclocross requires more of a cycling shoe that also doubles as a running shoe. And I've got the SBD, you know, cleats on, so not made for running.
Totally. Those like are lock-in cleats, or yeah. Those would not be fun to run in, I would imagine, for sure.
Yeah, and then you always ruin the cleats within like the first 2 or 3 times. Like, I just spent $30 on this. So, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah.
What's next for you?
John Tanner sprint in a week and a half. So
nice.
I grew the mustache out because I fixed the road bike, right, that I took from my parents' house. It's 1984 Schwinn. So it's a steel bike. And somebody said, why don't you race it? I said, good. Yeah, why not? It's only a sprint. So I'm like, well, you know, if we'll go big, go home. So I got a banana Speedo. Hold on. I got this. It just came the other day.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
banana hammock. Well played.
Yeah. Then I got the Ray-Bans and the headband to go with the mustache to race it old school.
Yes. I love it. It's a fully considered, fully conceptualized look.
And I'm going to race the weekend after that. So I'm going to keep it for a little while. So
are you gonna use the 84 Schwinn for the following weekend as well, or
maybe not? It depends how the first weekend goes, because the second one's an Olympic, and I don't know how comfortable it'll be for 25 miles versus 14.
Fair enough.
So
have you grown the mustache earlier in quarantine, or like during the pandemic too, or is this just for this?
No, I just grew it for this. I started growing it like the last day I shaved was for the photo shoot I did with an abstract expressionist photographer from home. So I was like, all right, well, I'll grow it from now on. And
nice.
It's funny, my uncle just died, and my mom's going through her stuff, and he found my great grandfather's passport. She sends it to me, and oh my God, he's got like a Tom Selleck mustache times 2.
Nice.
Ridiculous. I was like, I guess you didn't inherit that. No.
You're like, just give me 4 years. I'll get there. It'll get there eventually if I just get enough time.
I can't stand this thing. I want to shave it off now.
Really? I felt that way. I started growing one like when we started working from home.
You're not clean cut anymore like you were at West Stride.
No, I don't know what to call myself now. Just Canada Will, I guess. Yeah. Dave Toronto or whatever the alias is. But yeah, like Lauren was just like, oh, you should try going the mustache. So here we are, like a year and a half later. And that's I think I'm stuck with it now. I don't know. I think I'm going to be a mustachioed guy for the rest of my life. We'll see.
I'm starting to get used to it. At first, it was annoying because I never had facial hair because I can't really grow much of it. So, like, you know, I would just take beard trimmers and cut it down because I hate shaving. It's like, all right. But it's like, well, I can't really grow a great goatee. I can grow a mustache. Like, we'll see how this is going to turn out.
Right.
So
it's a low investment. It's like getting a snake plant or some kind of like plant that doesn't require a lot of like maintenance as your first foray into like house plant ownership. And then you kind of build up your repertoire from there.
That's a bad example because I can keep cats alive for 15 years, but I can't grow a fucking catnip plant, man. I bought it when I was at Ohio 70.3 with my mom. I bring it back home, and within 5 days it died. My mom's like, it's a perennial, let it come back. I'm like, I put it outside. It sits in the sun. It gets rain. You know, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this thing? It won't grow.
I know. Nature. I thought nature was supposed to make this grow. Yeah.
I've debated planting it across the street and see how it turns out. So I don't have to look at it anymore. My failure.
That's okay. Well, you gotta have a first swing and a miss. It's like your catnip growth is like my first marathon. You know, you gotta swing and a miss at your first attempt, so the second attempt's better.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with the TBI, I got hit by a Tahoe. He was going about 50 miles an hour, and he hit me like not head on, but it was like he was making a soft left turn, one where you don't have to hit your brakes if you have a green light. Well, it was a green light, but he doesn't have a turning arrow. So I'm going straight and he hits me, and I ended up with a TBI out of the deal. I broke a finger, but other than that, I didn't break any of their bones. But the TBI was a whole mess of problems in itself, which, you know, I had PTSD, anxiety issues. You know, I got really depressed because like that first year, I was not the athlete I used to be. And it was very frustrating. And, you know, they tell you, doctors tell you, oh, exercise is great for depression. What they don't understand is if you're a pretty good athlete as it is, depression makes you slower. It's like dragging a boat anchor, and that just makes you feel sadder, you know? So that was going on. And, you know, I was living in fear every day because I got fired 3 or 4 times. And they always tell you, or told me, you know, you're a great guy to have on here. You can't do the job anymore. So, you know, and the thing is, like, I lived every day not knowing when that was happening because I got fired on a Monday one time. So it's like, yeah, not even Friday. It's like, could today be today? And then